right, guys, you wanted a sequel, and now you're getting it.
All right, fine. Can you at least give me A tier?
Yeah, whatever, Barack. I think it's too high, but if me and Donnie's favorite Zeldas can go in A tier, I guess yours can too.
I guess that's one way to compromise, although I really do think that pretty much all the games in A should be in S. But I am biased towards the 3D Zelda games, because that was my childhood. And honestly, I think all the 3D Zelda games were pretty bomb.
Let's just move on to the next game, Obama.
Huh?
Bruh.
What?
Moving on to Minish Cap, or as I like to call it, Minish Crap.
Ooh, so original. Did you come up with that one yourself?
I'm already regretting agreeing to this again. Are you seriously going to defend Minish Cap of all...
I played Minish Cap. I didn't finish it because it was kind of boring for me. But I like what they were trying to do with it. It was an interesting spin to have Link be, you know, really tiny. I'd put it in B.
all games? The most snooze-inducing mid-game in the series?
Oh, what's the matter? Sleepy Joe can't stay awake?
Trump, you seriously like Minish Cap? No cap? The Kinstone system has to be one of the most contrived and pointless things I've ever seen.
I will never understand anyone's issue with kinstones. They're like business deals. You shake hands and get something good out of it.
A bunch of the kinstones just lead to more fucking kinstones. What a waste of damn time.
Just like in the business world, sometimes you have to shake hands with more than one person. It all leads to a nice reward in the end, but you wouldn't understand that, would you, broke boy?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Sometimes you gotta do something 100 times before it works. It's hard work, but you know, if you have persistence, you achieve what you want, and that's not so bad. At least when you're used to it.
Donald, it's a damn video game, not real life. Why should I have to waste my time with a chain of kinstones that just leads to a piece of heart or some shit?
I don't get your point. If you don't like kinstones, then just ignore them. All you motherfuckers talk shit on kinstones like the game is shoving it down your throat.
Yeah, well, it's real fucking annoying to find a secret cave and hope for something good. And all that was in there was a chest with a fucking kinstone piece in it.
Ignoring the kinstones, can we talk about how small the item pool is? Half of these items are useless outside of the area you get them in.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I didn't like that. I'm so used to having a catalog of items that I can use anywhere, and it's convenient. But when it's restricted to a certain area, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why'd I put in all that effort? You know what I mean? If I'm gonna go through all the effort to get an item, at least let me use it everywhere. I thought I earned it.
And they aren't that interesting to begin with.
Oh, that's real rich coming from the Wind Waker fanboy. Every item you get opens up new locations in the overworld, and they're all satisfying to use. You can't look me in the face and tell me that jumping over a dark nut with the rocks cape isn't fun as hell.
Oh boy, the items open up more boring areas in the already boring world. What a fucking day.
Oh,
I think that's why I like the 3D Zelda games more. I feel like the 2D games just aren't as interesting. Every 2D Zelda game I've played feels smaller, shorter, and just not as nuanced. And so it's so easy for me to put it down and forget about it. Whereas the 3D games, they feel more fleshed out, more real, and I can actually get invested in the characters and the story because there's so much more there. But I grew up with Zelda right when they were starting their 3D kind of era, and so I am used to that, so yeah.
go fuck yourself. The sprite work in this game is so good, so good. And despite the horrendous GBA sound chip, this game's soundtrack has some real bangers.
Man, I'm so sick of this GBA sound chip argument. Go listen to the fucking Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga soundtrack. Somehow, even with the quote GBA sound chip, they still managed to make a soundtrack that doesn't sound crusty like your wrinkly old ass.
You're the wrinkly one here, Joe. This game is an underrated gem, and it's haters like you that keep people from playing it.
Guys, can we all agree that you're all crusty? So that's not really something you can use against each other. I mean, like, you're just calling the kettle black. This isn't a real insult.
The clone puzzles are great. Shrinking down is interesting and unique. And even though the game doesn't have a lot of dungeons, they're all unique and fun. The Temple of Droplets has one of the best songs of all time.
Nobody's denying the Temple of Droplets has a good song. That's a cold take.
So you admit the game is good?
No, dumbass.
Then what's so
the
bad
overworld
about it?
is cumbersome to navigate.
Sounds
Besides
like a
the
you
Palace
problem.
of Winds, the dungeons really aren't that great.
What an awful
and Vati
opinion.
is
So
not really
awful.
that
Sounds
interesting.
like-
Oh my god, I feel like we're fighting about every little detail of this game. Are we gonna have any time for the others?
Let's be
Holy
real.
shit, guys, let's move on already. You all cool with putting this one in B tier?
Whatever, I can't argue about this damn game all day. I could count the amount of fans this game has on my damn hands.
Yay! Okay, it went into B just like I thought it should. Yes. Also, thank God Obama's moving the conversation forward, because I was about to be like, guys, I want to talk about Twilight Princess.
And I could count the amount of people who actually voted for you on my
for
hand.
fuck's sake.
I'm putting it in B tier. Let's move the hell on.
Fine, whatever.
Next up is Twilight Princess. It's not
Bro. I called it. Did you see that? Oh, did you see that? Okay. This is my moment to gush about Twilight Princess. Did you know that Twilight Princess was the best-selling Zelda game until Breath of the Wild came out? Yeah, that's right, it is. And you know why? Because it's amazing. It has the awesome dark aesthetic, a whole new species of Twilight people. For once, you have a sidekick that is cool and lovable and not annoying, and she has a very interesting dynamic with Zelda in the game, where she initially doesn't really like Zelda that much, but then she grows to really respect her because Zelda sacrificed her life for Midna's well-being. The music is awesome. I love the fact that Link is able to transform into a wolf. I don't know if this is spoilers, by the way. I'm hoping if you're watching this, you already played this game. Zant was an amazing enemy. There are a lot of different enemies throughout the Zelda series besides Ganon, although Ganon is the most iconic, I feel like. But Zant, in those cutscenes, was so badass that when he was on screen, I genuinely was terrified of him sometimes because his design is amazing. He has a very ruthless personality. He's a villain I can actually appreciate because he's actually evil, which, you know, these days I feel like it's kind of hard sometimes to find a villain that's truly villainous. And then there is the lost hero. I forget what his actual name is. The hero of time from another era. He wasn't able to pass on his knowledge to the next generation, and so he appears as this ghost in the Twilight Princess game, and he teaches that Link what he knows. That was such a cool take on the Hyrule timeline and all these different links, and then just bringing them together. I love that game. So yes, I do love all of the 3D Zelda games. Honestly, I'm kind of biased towards them, I guess. But Twilight Princess is, chef's kiss, beautiful. I love it. And so it deserves to be in A or in S, just like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Wind Waker. Guys, this is the best selling Zelda game before Breath of the Wild. You have to do this one justice. You cannot get this wrong.
not my favorite, but I think it's pretty good.
Obama, you just lost a few points in my book. How dare you?
In A tier?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I think A tier is perfectly fine.
Ain't no way.
Oh my god. Okay, Obama, first of all, where the hell do you get your sense of taste from? I don't know what's going on here. What do you mean it's not the best? What do you mean? And also, Joe, you barely had anything to say about it. There's so much to say. You two are okay with putting in an A, but you're barely even talking about it. Why? And Trump, don't even get me started. I'm gonna wait for you to say what you have to say, but I'm about to sass you out in a minute. I know it. I know you're gonna say something freaking disappointing. I know it.
Seems like you two ancient fucks are losing your memory. There's no way you can tell me that Wolf Link was fun at all. He was so bad.
I really don't think Wolf
How is he bad?
Link was that bad. I mean, sure, his fights are pretty simple, but it's pretty fun to run around with Midna on your back.
Ooh, Midna, what a short stack on the hole.
The fuck?
Bro.
Jesus Christ. Are you forgetting how fucking boring it is to collect the tears of light? I'm seriously going to become as Sleepy Joe playing this shit.
Well, I can...
How the heck is it boring when you enter an area and it's shrouded in the twilight? You have cutscenes and dialogue that is specific to that area when it is shrouded in the twilight. Not to mention the fact that you are invisible to all the human beings when you're in the twilight, partly because you're a wolf, and I guess you're technically a being of the twilight in that state, so they can't see you, so you can, like, knock shit over and stuff, and they're like, what's happening? And that's hilarious. You're practically a ghost. Come on now.
I can see why you might think that slows the game down, but personally I think it was fun to explore the Twilight realm, and it doesn't take up too much of the game. I mean, you have to admit this game has some great dungeons and bosses.
Yeah.
Also, Joe, can we talk about what you just said?
Let's not, please.
Is there a problem, Barack? I know you've been online long enough to see that I'm not alone on that.
Oh my God.
Sure, but are you seriously going to simp over Midna? At least simp over an actually hot character in this game, like Zelda. This is the best Zelda has ever looked.
Gonna lose it.
I mean, okay, so Obama isn't wrong. I think that the Twilight Princess era Zelda was one of the best, like, aesthetically. But I also gotta say, I see nothing wrong with simping for Midna. She's cute. I wouldn't simp over her just because she's, like, not human, so it kind of doesn't make sense to me. But like, hey man, if it makes you happy, you do you, man. Stare respectfully.
Crazy Barack, Midna is way hotter than Zelda in both forms, but especially the imp form.
Oh, that's right. That's right. At the end, she has like a humanoid form that is actually pretty beautiful. You know, see, this is what I mean, guys. I love the aesthetic of the Twilight. I love Midna's final humanoid form. The patterns on the clothing is gorgeous. Oh, I love it so much. I forgot she became like human at the end. And then the mirror shattering. Oh, and she said, I'll see you later, but then the mirror shatters, and then you obviously don't see her ever again, and then you wonder why. Why, Midna, why did you say that? What did you mean? Are you actually an ancestor of Fi from Skyward Sword or something, and so that's what you meant when you said that you'd see us later? Anyways, I'm getting distracted, I'm sorry, let's continue.
Those thighs? God damn.
Holy shit, can you two actually talk about the fucking game? Are you two seriously going to get into a waifu war right now? Is this...
Listen, Trump, any time is a good time to have a waifu war, okay?
the true form of a Twilight Princess fan? Besides, we all know that the bug girl Agatha is the only acceptable waifu from this game.
What?
Oh my god, Agatha, I was thinking about her the other day and her love of bugs. I felt like that was a very interesting addition to the franchise that worked so well. Like in the past, you know, you'd collect Poes or fairies, and actually there were bugs in was it Ocarina of Time? But it was nice to see them take that to the next level with Twilight Princess, where it was like so many different kinds of bugs you can catch. And like I think there were fireflies, butterflies, all these different kind of things. I like that. And I think it's unusual to see a girl character in games that has an interest in bugs. The stereotype of women is that we're all afraid of bugs. You know what I mean? It was just refreshing, and I appreciated that.
Bro?
Ain't no way.
Anyway, back to what you were saying before, Barack. Yes, this game has a lot of admittedly good dungeons, but then the game decides to take a big shit on your face at the end of the game with that joke of a dungeon, Palace of Twilight.
I can agree with that much, but I think all the other dungeons and
What do you mean? I didn't think that the Palace of Twilight was bad.
bosses make up for it. How about we call this one an A-?
Yeah, fine, whatever. You two furries can win this time.
Anyway.
An A- is a freaking crime.
Moving on to Phantom Hourglass, and you know what? Let's just throw in Spirit Tracks while we're at it. I'm pretty confident with a C ranking for both of these.
So I started playing both of those games, but I didn't finish them. So I feel like the most fair thing I can do is just put it in the middle, because I haven't played the whole game, so I don't know if it's especially good or especially bad. So I feel like B is pretty fine.
So mid.
I know it's cool to hate on Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, but they really aren't that bad.
No way, no fucking way. The guy who talks so much shit on Minish Cap is going to turn around and defend the DS Zeldas? Little bro needs to see a psychiatrist.
You're whack, Jack. The only complaint people have about these games is that you have to return to the same dungeon multiple times. Yet they seem to forget that the floors you already visited get easier and easier each time you return.
I would say, from what I know of the games, that they're pretty mid. But again, I haven't finished it, so it's an incomplete opinion, and take it with a grain of salt.
I really don't see the problem, especially when the rest of the game is peak.
Yeah, peak dog shit, maybe. You seriously gonna tell me these crusty-ass games are peak? The dungeons in Phantom Hourglass are mid-AF.
Dude, remember the ghost ship? It was so exciting after Wind Waker to return to the ghost ship, but as a fully realized dungeon this time. Only for half of it to just be the Temple of the Ocean King, but as an escort mission. What a fucking letdown.
Only a Wind Waker baby like you cares about the ghost ship that damn much.
The ghost ship is great, okay? And just like the Lord of the Mountain from Breath of the Wild, okay? That's a pretty awesome spirit. I love it. I love when Zelda gets supernatural. That's awesome.
The puzzles in this game utilize the DS so well. Microphone puzzles, enemies you have to defeat with the microphone, being able to draw on your map. Puzzles where you close the damn lid of the DS. Such unique and creative puzzles. And yet all you can complain about is the Temple of the Ocean King, which isn't really that bad.
Ain't no damn way I'm putting these games above the Oracle games. Sorry, Joe, but this shit is going straight into C tier.
Whatever.
Aw, okay. Well, I mean, I can take it, but I feel like they should be in B. I hear about Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks more often.
I can't win with you fucking people. Nobody appreciates the DS Zeldas for what they are.
I'll tell you what they are. Mid, Joe. So very mid. Here, let me play something on my phone. This is me every time I return to the Temple of the Ocean King. Did you guys hear that?
Pretty funny.
Fuck you, Donald.
All right, let's move on to Skyward Sword. This game is a...
Oh my god, okay. So, Skyward Sword. is different from the other 3D Zelda games. Skyward Sword feels like a rushed game. And I think considering what we know about the development, that's probably the case. I did not enjoy Skyward Sword remotely as much as I hoped for a number of reasons. Firstly, the world feels kind of small compared to other games. You revisit the same areas multiple times. Really, the only difference is that you're able to go back in time in certain sections of the areas. And yes, sometimes you get access to a new kind of small area within the bigger area that you're returning to, but it still feels like I'm just going back to the same things over and over again because the team didn't really have time to build a more rich world. Then there's what I like to call the eggplant monster. Honestly, it looks like a potato if a potato could be a dinosaur and if the dinosaur had scales. It's just a very disappointing character design. Fee was an interesting sidekick, but it almost felt like they were trying so hard to make her a kind of robotic, futuristic character that she just says a lot of things that make her feel robotic, but don't actually contribute anything meaningful to the journey. Like, she'll be like, there's a 99.9% chance that you might fart right now. And it's like, okay, first of all, you didn't have to tell me that because if enough time passes, it's going to happen. So it's not really helpful. But beyond that, like really 99.9% chance, you had to specify the number for me. You did the math? You calculated that? Not to mention the fact that in certain cutscenes, she like sings, but she looks like she's screaming in pain instead of singing because the animation is so weird. I will say that I love Girahim, the enemy in this game. He is a fashion icon. He was a genuinely difficult enemy at times, and his character was just like on point. I feel that in other Zelda games, Princess Zelda was a bit more competent. Like, she could actually do things on her own. In Ocarina of Time, for example, she cross-dresses as Sheik so that she can navigate around Hyrule without people knowing her identity. She's not some damsel in distress that's like, oh, Link, please save me. She can actually do things. In Twilight Princess, she has light arrows. She's actually helping Link to save the world. She's not just standing by and being like, all right, King, here's your battle. I'm just gonna stand over here looking pretty. Like, she actually plays a role. And in Skyward Sword, I don't feel like she was in an empowered state. It felt more like she was a damsel in distress. And don't get me wrong, like, that's not always a bad thing, but it's just a trope that I'm really tired of. And given how far Zelda already came in establishing Zelda as a kind of independent woman, it was a little disappointing to see her regress. It had a lot of potential, but I just don't feel like they fleshed it out as well as they could have. Although the Kikwi are freaking adorable, and I love them so much. I would put Skyward Sword in B, just because I felt like it could have been so much more. But I'll take an A- if they feel a little bit better about it.
Pretty mixed bag for me, but I think it can go in B tier.
B tier, B tier, the only Zelda game without a basic as fuck plot, and you want to put it in B tier? I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to either of you. Are you trying to say the plot is good, Joe? Fee's entire existence actively drags down the plot. And plot aside, what about the rest of the game? Pretty damn mid.
Mid? I think the dungeons are pretty great, to be honest. My only real issue is with the motion controls and Fee. She's more damn annoying than Navi.
Navi this, Fee that. Everyone exaggerates how annoying these characters are to extreme levels. They really aren't that intrusive at all.
Joe, I think that's easy to say when you constantly fall asleep when you play games, okay? Listen, when you fall asleep during the cutscenes, you don't get to experience as much of them. So I don't expect you to understand how annoying Fee and Navi are. Okay, when you can stay awake most of the time, then we can return to this conversation.
And you don't have to use the motion controls on the Switch port, dude.
Oh no, instead you can use the Joy-Cons and their hellish drift. And I may be rich, but paying $60 to play the same game I already own? It's a scam, I tell you.
Yeah, that's true. Ooh, I'm Nintendo. Let me re-release this game at full price and lock a quality of life mechanic behind a $25 amiibo. Seriously, what the fuck?
Nintendo's shitty business practices aside, the game is actually really fun. The dungeons are great, the world is beautiful. Girahim and Groose are amazing characters, and every area is unique and fun.
Yeah.
I also do like Groose. I forgot what his name was, which is why I didn't mention him before, but that was an interesting dynamic. I also do think that the world was beautiful, and the dungeons were good too.
Yeah, it's so fun going back to the only 3 areas in the game to do the Silent Realm bullshit. Holy shit, it's fucking Twilight Princess all over again.
I loved making the Guardians angry and then trying to outrun them and then usually dying. It was actually a lot of fun for me.
And then the game makes you go back again to get the song of the hero. Yeah, it's so fun when the game grinds to a fucking halt.
Yeah, that was a little annoying, but the music and art style are pretty great. Again, there are things I like and dislike about this game, and I think it balances out to a B tier.
Whatever, man, the areas completely change when you return, so I don't get the problem.
The problem is the game making you do things over and over again. Give me a new damn area.
He understands. Someone understands. Put it in B. It deserves to be in B.
You know what else the game makes you do again? That dogshit fight against the imprisoned. Yes, it changes each time. And guess what? It becomes more and more fucking annoying.
Skill.
Oh yeah, that's what it was called, The Imprisoned. Honestly, it looks like a purple pineapple, so I never remember what its actual name is, which I think speaks volumes. Yeah, that was freaking ridiculous, man. I mean, come on, it's not even scary, it's just ridiculous.
Skill issue.
Guys, there's no winning here. I think we have to put this in B tier.
Yeah, let's move on from this mid-fest.
What the fuck ever?
It's in B.
Nearing the end here, let's talk about A Link Between Worlds next. I'm gonna keep it a stack. I think this game...
Ooh, A Link Between Worlds. I played this game. I think I finished it in a few days. I like the idea of Link being able to become a 2D image. I also like the concept of Hilda, but I found everything else disappointing. So first of all, the fact that you have this parallel world, and the kingdom is called Low Rule to contrast against High Rule. I mean, come on now. You couldn't come up with a more unique name than that? You're just gonna go high and low? Like, what? Secondly, Hilda is cool, but I feel like she could have had more to her character. It really just kind of felt like she was there to be Zelda's counterpart, and she didn't have too much of a purpose beyond that. I forget the name of the enemy in this game, but he felt very stereotypical. He's one of those personalities that are obsessed with perfection. I just feel like that's kind of an overdone trope. You know, the enemy that's like, I'm gonna make the world perfect, so I'm gonna destroy everything that is faulted in any kind of way. It's just not unique. I felt like there was so much more potential there to create an enemy that's actually memorable and actually makes me fear him maybe a little bit. This particular enemy just felt like a crazy guy with an art complex. The dungeons were super easy, the bosses were super easy, which is why I completed the game so fast. And don't get me wrong, it can be nice sometimes to have a game that isn't constantly making you want to bash your head against the wall, like the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time. But Zelda is both an adventure and a puzzle game. And the point of that is, yes, sometimes you spend your time adventuring and being chill, but then there comes a time where you actually have to be challenged. That's what makes it a puzzle. And this game did not feel challenging whatsoever. It felt incredibly easy. And it just took all the joy out of achieving things in the game. All in all, I would put this game in B tier because it's not horrible, but I feel like the original idea of, you know, bringing art into the Zelda franchise could have worked very well. Like in Ocarina of Time, there's actually a boss called Phantom Ganon, and he walks in and out of paintings in a dungeon while you're fighting him. And that's a really good example of like integrating the idea of art with Zelda and making it work. But this just felt really uninspired to me.
Game is actually S tier material.
Honestly, our S tier is looking pretty bare there. This game is literally just a link to the past, but actually good.
Is this something we can all finally agree on? I'm honestly shocked you guys shit-talked A Link to the Past so much, but actually like this game.
Well, the story was much more interesting than A Link to the Past.
Can't forget my boy Ravio. So damn convenient to be able to rent any item you want. And the music, amazing.
I really like what they did with the Dark World in this game. Instead of a giant shithole, it's an actual kingdom that just went into disarray.
Reminds me of Cleveland.
And Hilda, ooh, baby, finally Princess Zelda, but as an actually interesting character.
Wow, I'm really shocked that they have this perspective, actually. Well, I mean, their taste on some of these things is pretty questionable, actually, so I'm not surprised. But I still hold all of my previous stances.
Hilda, so beautiful, so beautiful.
Yeah, let's drop it in S tier.
All right. Last up, it's Breath of the Wild. It really was a breath of fresh air. This game was...
Wait a minute, you put that in S tier? What the hell? Guys, are you sure you're gamers? Cause if that's all it takes to impress you, I'm not sure if you are. Anyways, Breath of the Wild, I mean, I feel like this should be pretty easy to rank. It should go in S, at the very least A. They can't rank it lower than that. They can't do that.
Absolutely excellent.
More like a breath of fresh ass. Let's completely destroy what makes Zelda work so that it can appeal to the normies of the world.
It's not my favorite, but what the hell, Donald? It's at least an A tier. Come on, bro.
No.
Oh my god. Okay, so Here's the thing, right? I love Breath of the Wild, but it is missing some classic elements of Zelda that make it feel a little less complete to me. In previous Zelda games, Link plays an instrument. It's usually an ocarina, but not always. For example, in Majora's Mask, he plays a guitar and drums and trumpets when he's the Deku Scrub. Music is such a big part of the Zelda franchise, but unlike previous Zelda games, Breath of the Wild doesn't really utilize the connection of instruments to like dungeons or unlocking certain parts of the game. You have this bird guy who plays the accordion. I don't think you've seen the accordion in previous Zelda games. I could be wrong. But, you know, he's just one character on the side who plays it, and that kind of feels like the extent of instruments being appreciated in Breath of the Wild. Apart from that, it does feel like a game that appeals to the masses more than the original fan base. There wasn't a great variety of enemies in Breath of the Wild. There's a whole bunch of temples spread out throughout the game, and they're cool, but they feel like very small mini dungeons. And there's so many of them, and honestly, most of them are so easy to beat that it doesn't feel as great of an achievement when you complete those dungeons. There's also a lot of classic Zelda weapons that I'm used to being able to use that Breath of the Wild doesn't include. And then the fact that you have not only a stamina bar, but also a kind of health bar for your weapons, so your weapons will break or be damaged after a certain period of time was kind of annoying. I understand it kind of turns Zelda into a survival game, and it's supposed to, like, I guess add some interest to living in this world as Link, but it just felt very cumbersome and annoying at times when I had to constantly go out and harvest materials because I was constantly breaking things, including the Master Sword, by the way, which I found so weird. Like, the whole idea of the Master Sword is that this is supposed to be the ultimate weapon, and yet I can break it? I mean, I understand that, you know, swords realistically have their limits and sometimes you gotta fix them because they get dull, but it just felt strange to do that with the Master Sword. This weapon that was known all throughout Zelda's history as the thing that can cast down Ganon. I feel like Link has a bit more of a personality in this game. At one point, Zelda mentions that Link is a glutton, and first of all, that's freaking relatable. But secondly, I love the cooking system in Breath of the Wild. It's nice to be able to make your own food and experiment with recipes instead of only being able to consume whatever like a farmer gives you or that you buy at the store. It gives Link a little more life and he feels more like a real person. I love the different regions and the plants and animals that are specific to different areas. I like the scene where he's in the Gerudo Desert and he cross-dresses as a woman in order to get into the Gerudo town. That was beautiful. I love that so much. And it felt so rewarding to like sneak in there and be like, oh, I am a pretty girl. Oh, I'm not a man. No, of course not. And I love the idea of the divine beasts. I love the design of the guardians as well. Ancient technology is just so awesome. Ultimately, I do love Breath of the Wild despite what it is missing, but it does feel like a incomplete Zelda experience coming from previous 3D Zelda games, and I hope that with Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo kind of comes around and maybe fills some of those gaps. I do think it probably would make them more money to not do that and to cater to new fans, but I'm hoping that they honor the fan base they already have and appreciate us so that we can all have a game that we enjoy.
No way. We all know this game is shit. Weapon durability is ass. The music is non-existent. The world is too big and too empty. The story is so average it's criminal. And the worst offender of all is the dungeons. What makes Zelda work is combat woven expertly with puzzle solving inside of well-designed dungeons. The divine beasts are fucking piss easy, small as fuck. And they all look the fucking same.
Bro.
Hey, they do not look the same, okay? I agree with pretty much everything else you said, but they do not look the same.
Nobody's denying the divine beasts are mid as hell, but the gameplay segments leading up to them are really fun. Who can forget riding in the desert chasing down the divine beast? Or climbing Death Mountain?
I really don't get your problem with the story. It was interesting how Link unlocks his memories by traveling to these different areas of the world. And seeing how things went to shit was cool as hell.
Those cutscenes are mid-Joe. So very mid. The only reason anyone cares about them is because Zelda's sweet cheeks were in one of them. That's the only thing.
I mean, well, you're not entirely wrong. I think you're giving it a little too much credit, but I mean, it did go viral. So, I can't help but feel like Nintendo did that on purpose. They knew what they were doing. They were serving some looks.
Thing they care about, Joe.
Those were some sweet cheeks.
Okay, but what about exploring the world? I'll never forget how blown away I was the first time I saw one of those big-ass dragons flying through the sky.
Yes!
It was breathtaking.
Yes.
Finding shrines was an experience all its own, and they were pretty damn fun.
If by fun you mean boring as hell, then I agree. They might have been good the first few times, but it just boils down to solving some easy-ass puzzle or fighting some stupid-ass enemy that you can easily defeat once you know how to handle them.
But that applies to literally every Zelda enemy in the whole series. Like, I feel like Zelda is known for having enemies that follow a very specific pattern of attack. Put Breath of the Wild in A, please. Don't do this to me.
The game is about so much more than the shrines and the dungeons. It's about immersion, exploration, and the sense of adventure. Finding a new and unique area you never saw before. Maybe there isn't that much music in the game, but that's because it's more ambient, to help with that feeling of immersion.
Bro, if I wanted to explore, I'd leave my fucking house. When I'm
Listen, Trump, okay? Listen here. Not everyone has equal access to the outdoors, all right? Some of us are lazy, or disabled, or too poor to participate in society, okay? Not that you would know that. I mean, it's not like you have to worry about money problems or anything, but just so you know, we average people out here. Leaving the house ain't so easy for all of us.
playing a game, I want to play a damn game, not relive the experiences of a fucking pilgrim. You know what the biggest insult of all is, though? It's evident they could have made great dungeons in this game when you go through Hyrule Castle, and yet they chose to make those divine pieces of crap instead.
God damn, can we finish this tier list already? Just drop it in A tier for fuck's sake.
Is it nap time already, Joe?
Shut the hell up, Donald.
Whatever, Breath of the Wild doesn't deserve this shit, but for the sake of finally finishing this hellish list, I'll put it in A tier.
A. Haha, A.
You know, looking at this completed list, I have to say it's shit.
Sure fucking is.
Yeah.
Wait a second, I feel like we're missing something.
I don't think we're missing any games.
Must be daydreaming again, Sleepy Joe.
Weird, guess I was mistaken. Well, whatever, peace out.
Yeah.
Wait, are we missing something? Hold on, let me look at this list for a moment. Are we missing something? Are we missing some Zelda game that didn't do well?
Yeah, see you later, dipshits.
See ya.
Dang, I had so much to say. Oh my god. I hope you guys enjoy my thoughts, even though I said a lot today. Clearly, I'm a very passionate Zelda fan. I hope a lot of you are too, and hopefully you learned something.